so a lot of people have gone down now. Chris Cuomo is gone. The head of the CNN is gone. And then another head of the CNN is gone. She's not a head, but she was, I forget her position over there.
It was the head, if you know it.
Boom. So here is Brian Stelter. He's going to tell you about what's going on because Chris Cuomo is not leaving quietly.
Chris Cuomo reference. Cuomo was fired in December, and he is not going out quietly. He was fired, and there were reports that he wasn't going to get paid the millions of dollars that were going to be on the remainder of his contract. So as a source said to me earlier today, he was trying to burn the place down. He was going to court, trying to burn the place down, and claiming that he had incriminating information about Zucker and Gullist. So if that's the case, if this is a domino effect that begins with Andrew Cuomo going down in the governor's office, and then Chris Cuomo being fired from CNN, and then Jeff Zucker losing his job at CNN, that is a remarkable domino effect, a chain of events. I think that is part of the story, the Chris Cuomo reference.
Yeah.
Chris Cuomo reference.
So we got a governor, we got the number one host at CNN, we got the head of CNN, and we have what is that woman's position? Could you look it up at CNN?
Why didn't he go? And then me. Well, and then I'm going to be, because isn't he Zucker's boy?
Yeah, he was Zucker. Sure, all these people were handpicked by Jeff Zucker, who was the head of CNN, so now they're all worried about their job. But now there's been new information that came out, and so what I think was happening is that Chris Cuomo threatened to, hey, I'm going to tell everybody all the garbage that I know about Jeff Zucker. And one of those things is that Jeff Zucker also coached Andrew Cuomo, the governor.
Yeah, right.
And so that's why also all these people are now jumping. Here's from the New York Times, how a secret assault allegation against an anchor upended CNN and Jeff Zucker. The network's top-rated host and its president were forced out following ethical lapses. I had an ethical lapse.
Oopsie.
It comes and goes.
Yeah, I forgot to renew my subscription to ethics, and it lapsed for a few weeks. I had an ethics lapse. That is, boy, I can't wait till I could use that. Boy, oh boy, an ethics lapse. Okay. So so it's a little bit of a story. Let me tell you. I hope I don't bury the lead. The lead is that Chris Cuomo assaulted a woman sexually in his office. Okay, so we're gonna get to that. So I don't bury it. I just want to let you know up front. That's the sweet part of the story. But here it comes. Mr. Zucker told Mr. Cuomo that CNN. So this is on November 30th, right? So Mr. Zucker told Mr. Cuomo that CNN was suspending him because of his unethical interactions with his brother, New York's governor. Mr. Cuomo was shocked and offered to resign. Now, he wasn't shocked that he had done an ethics violation. He was shocked because he was unaware that CNN had ethics in the first place.
Yeah, right.
He was quoted as saying, "This is the first I'm hearing of this," said Cuomo. No, Mr. Cuomo was shocked and offered to resign. Mr. Zucker countered that the anchor might be able to return at some point, according to people with knowledge of the conversation. The next morning, December 1st, the CNN reporter Brian Stelter said on air that Mr. Cuomo could be back in January. Wow, so please don't reveal your other ethics violations before then. Barely 24 hours later, a letter arrived at CNN. It was from a lawyer representing a woman who had worked with Mr. Cuomo years earlier at ABC News. She said he had sexually assaulted her and that in the heat of the Me Too moment, Mr. Cuomo had tried to keep her quiet by arranging a flattering CNN segment about her employer at the time. The letter described it as an abuse of power at CNN to attempt to silence my client. What kind of a deal is that? Hey, remember how I sexually assaulted you that time? Well, how about I do a flattering story about your employer and we call it evensies? Okay. While a spokesman for Mr. Cuomo denied the allegations in the letter, it set in motion a chain of events that would quickly upend one of the world's most powerful news networks. A chain of events that even canceling Joe Rogan could not stop. One day after Mr. Cuomo, an anchor, had offered this woman, career advice, he invited her to lunch in his office. According to the letter, interviews with the woman and emails between her and Mitch. So that's according to all that stuff. When she arrived, there was no food. Instead, Mr. Cuomo badgered her for sex. And after she declined, he assaulted her. She said she ran out of the room. Wow, isn't that the kind of behavior that Mo Green had to slap Fredo for? In
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Maybe if Andrew had slapped CNN Fredo more, this could have been avoided. Here we go. There's more to the story. Ms. Katz's letter said that at the height of the Me Too uprising, after TV personalities like Charlie Rose and Matt Lauer were felled by misconduct allegations, Mr. Cuomo contacted the woman seemingly out of the blue. Wow. Does anyone remember what a big Me Too supporter Chris Cuomo was? No, I never was. I never advertised to believe all women. I don't think I ever said that. I always said, I think you have to have evidence and you should be able to defend yourself. I think I've always said that. I think I said that to Rose McGowan when I had her on the show. I said I never agreed with that idea that anybody just gets to launch an allegation and they have to be believed because people lie all the time, like Anna Kasparian.
Right.
And that's what hurts women from being believed is liars like Anna Kasparian. So that's what, and I can't find any clips of Chris Cuomo where he was saying that all women should be believed. But I think what he was saying was, it's important that we believe these women and then call them out of the blue to see if they're still upset at us. I think that's what he said. So here we go. Mr. Cuomo proposed arranging a CNN segment about the company where she worked doing public relations. The woman tried to avoid any contact with Mr. Cuomo, but CNN ultimately broadcast a segment anyway. So she didn't want to speak to him, but he went ahead with his flattering her boss plan.
Brilliant.
Chris Cuomo was like, she'll come around once she sees how nice I am to her boss.
What a great plan.
What a great plan. After years without any substantive communication from Mr. Cuomo whatsoever, Ms. Doe suspected he was concerned about her upcoming forward publicity with her allegations and wanted to use the proposed segment as an opportunity to test the waters and discourage her from going on the record about his sexual misconduct, Ms. Katz wrote. Mr. Zucker fired Cuomo the next afternoon. In mid-November, so this is what a lot of people are pointing to this. So there's this guy, John Malone, who's a big investor, shareholder in Discovery. Now, what's the point of that? Discovery is now buying CNN. I had no idea that Discovery had that kind of dough. I don't know what the deal is, but somehow Discovery is going to become the new parent network. Right now, it's Warner Brothers, isn't it? Or something like that. I thought, who owns CNN right now? Could you check that? Hey, did you find out what that woman's position was?
We were looking. No, they didn't get it to me.
Okay.
Discovery's got a lot of
I'll tell
ancient
you what it
aliens
is.
money to.
I'll tell you what it is. Okay. So in mid-November, this guy, John Malone, a leading shareholder in Discovery, appeared on CNBC. I would like to see CNN evolve back to the kind of journalism that it started with and actually have journalists, which would be unique and refreshing. Oh, my God, are they going to try hiring Joe Rogan? Because that's what it sounds like. So shortly after this article was published online, this article that you're reading, Jason Kilar, the chief executive of CNN's parent company, Warner Media. I was right.
AT&T's Warner Media.
So AT&T owns Warner Media, and they're the parent company. He announced that Ms. Golas's resignation. Now, Ms. Golas is the lady who was doing the hanky-panky with Jeff Zucker, the head of CNN. She was also the former communications director for Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York. So you see this kind of incestuous thing that's happening. This woman at CNN works under Jeff Zucker, also worked for Andrew Cuomo, and they're also having a sexual liaison, as they say.
So he was like, "We'll bring you back in January, Chris. Just sit tight and keep your trap shut. Don't worry, I'm going to make it all work."
Yeah.
And then they fired him when the lawyer letter came in.
Yeah, and then Chris was like, "Well, guess what? I'm taking you down with me." And so then I think Chris Cuomo had something to do with this getting revealed.
Of course.
This is all because of Chris Cuomo was pushing back. That's what I think. I think these guys lost their jobs because of that, right?
You
Okay.
don't cross a Cuomo.
And then,
And Ms. Gullis is the CNN marketing chief.
she's the CNN marketing chief. Miss Gullis is with Jeff Zucker, the head of CNN. They're having a sexual tryst. And in a memo on Tuesday evening, he wrote that an internal investigation found violations of company policies, including CNN's news standards and practices by Mr. Cuomo, Mr. Zucker, and Miss Gullis. That's okay. On here she is. Another top CNN exec resigns as Warner Media CEO cites ethical lapses. Ethical lapses, not violations, but lapses. They just didn't renew their subscription to the Ethics magazine. That happens. That happens. All right. So there's the latest on Chris Cuomo. So I would like to know. It would be interesting to find out the details of. I mean, these people are doing this stuff at work. He wasn't drunk at a party in college.
No, you don't know the story. Like, he brought her in. I thought like Katie Couric, or he was supposed to bring someone else in and then brought her in, and then they moved into this luxury apartment building together. They're both married, like in the same building, so they could see each other.
So
it's all like
So they say that was before they started having their sexual liaison, that they moved in. So Jeff Zucker, the head of CNN, and that woman who's the head of marketing at CNN, she moved into his building. And she lived, I get, right above him or right below him, one or the other. Yeah. And they claim that that was all just platonic, and it wasn't until the lockdown, COVID lockdowns, that they upped their relationship, moved to the physical sense. That's what they're saying. And so this is all because Chris Cuomo is a Fredo. And he was afraid of not getting his $9 million when they fired him. And so he decided to come burn the place down, as Brian Stelter said at the top of this segment, that he's coming in ready to burn it down. So, and he knew the dirt. He knew where the bodies were buried.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Remember when he had COVID, when he was in his basement?
Yes.
And then he had that thing of, I don't like what I do. When he briefly, the part of him that that acknowledged reality was like, I don't like what I do. I don't like this being on this channel. And then he had to walk it back later, like Sanjay Gupta after a Rogan appearance. Remember that?
I don't remember that. No, I don't.
Yeah, he trashed the job, and you could see like he hates it. He hated it. And all of a sudden he's like, no, I actually love it. It was while he had COVID.
Oh, no. I remember when he faked his exit from his basement. He had actually left a week earlier. And then for the cameras, he's faked a stunt right in front of his whole family. His whole family knew he was lying and doing a fake news. But Joe Rogan is the problem, right? Joe Rogan is the problem.
They don't even think about that. That's just like, yeah, you have to put a little razzle dazzle on all the things, because it's to talk to the stupid people. They need to believe that I was in my basement. It helps.
He completely faked a news segment. It's like that's like when Fauci admits I lied about masks. Then you're over with. Then you're done, because the only thing you have is your credibility and trustworthiness. And if that is shot, then you should be out of a job. That is all you have. Now, unlike me, I also have comedic talent that they don't have. So I have a lot more than they have. I have award-winning specials. I can entertain people with my mouth for an hour at a time without lights and dancing girls.
Without physically attacking them?
Yeah, and without physically attacking them. I mean, honest to God, it's like Chris Cuomo. It's like, I mean, first of all, let me just say this. Thank God the only time I ever had a job, it was over at the Howard Stern Wannabe show. And I never had to worry about any of that shit. Also, I guess I did at the end. But That's the beauty of being a stand-up comedian. You know, I don't have. There's no
Right.
human resources. There's no. You're usually at drunk in a bar at night, and you know, go ahead.
I interviewed Chris Cuomo a long time ago for at the New York Comedy Festival for who's the guy, Bob Woodruff or something. He was a reporter that got
Yeah.
blown up in a Jeep. So he had like a vet thing, and so they had me on the red carpet asking. And Chris Cuomo, I guess, was new then, and I think I called him the dreamiest Cuomo at the time, something like that.
He certainly is tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now, so there it is. So now you know what's happening. Everything started to unravel at CNN. They all started. The rats started jumping the ship and started biting each other on the way out. And then I love how pieces of shit like what's his name?
Zucker,
Not him, but the other guy.
Stelter.
There's another. Is there a Rogan at CNN? What is his name?
Rogan?
It's not Josh Rogan. Yeah, Josh
I don't know
Rogan.
who that is.
I saw he goes on CNN. He goes, Fox News is what I call them, the bullshit network. And he
I thought
says,
that was Acosta. Or that's bullshit.
"Oh no,
Factory.
that's right, Jim Acosta." Now I'm thinking that's right, Jim Acosta said that.
Yeah.
But they're a bullshit factory. Okay,
Good one, Jim
unlike
Acosta.
CNN, where guys just jerk off on camera, and I mean, look at this. The whole company just imploded. They all just imploded in ethical lapses. I don't know. Did Sean Hannity ever fake an entire news segment? I don't think he ever has done. I mean, he's done some bad stuff, but I don't think he's ever done as bad as Chris Cuomo.
There's in what's his name's book, Stelter's book, he has a chap, it's all about how Fox is bad. And the thing where Hannity sees him at an event and goes, "Hello, Humpty." And he wrote it in the book to talk about how you see how poisonous they are. It's like, it's all I can think is he looks like Humpty now. Humpty Dumpty.
He said that to Brian Stelter?
Yeah.
Oh,
It was all about how not civil they are. He wrote that in his own book that Sean Hannity calls him Humpty.
Why would you repeat that?
I know. He really looks like his features were drawn on an egg with a Sharpie.
Hey, we're doing live stand-up comedy in Philadelphia on February 20th. We just added a second show. And February 26th, back here in Los Angeles, go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for all the tickets for all our live shows.